music to the top. Ragamuffin keeps striving in every way. International, what they call me international. When me ride palm with them in the move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm with them and then we sit down steady. Body me on the place, I with the one Jamal skinny. We are the general. We sit up on the rhythm and over the mic incredible. I'm me right palm with them in the move, but the rhythm I sit down steady. Every ragamuffin you do, I feel rock and follow me. You know you love her for your life. We jump up on the rhythm, make we ride it. We chat up on the mic and keep it international. Cause anytime we chop a mic, they call we give it a general. International, what they call me international. When me ride palm with them in the move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm with them and then we sit down steady. Body me on the place, I with the one Jamal skinny.
Yes. What is up, everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique. Let me know if you can see me. Let me know if you can hear me. And join me in welcoming my guest today from Ujam, Adam D'Agostino. Adam, how you doing?
Good. How's it going? How are you today?
Absolutely phenomenal now that we've got a stream up and running successfully and we've got you as our guest. This is a second time on the podcast, I was about to call it, live stream, yeah?
Correct, yeah. Second time. Still fresh, but, exciting nonetheless.
Why don't you let us know a little bit for the people who might not know you yet or the people who didn't catch that first stream. Let us know a little bit about you and what you do at Ujam, and then you can slide right in to tell us what we're going to be checking out here on the stream today.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Adam. I'm a product owner at Ujam, and lately I've been doing more of the kind of brand stuff, live streams and whatnot. We do, we make creative virtual instruments. If you don't know the company, Ujam makes creative virtual instruments and effects, with an emphasis on eliminating obstacles in your writing experiences and also creative sound design. So we like to inspire. Our slogan is we inspire, you dare. So that's kind of like the essence of Ujam. And we release products pretty frequently. I think we're one of the quickest in the industry. We do a new product every month or so. And so today we're mostly going to be taking a look at Amber 2, which is our new virtual guitarist. It just came out a few days ago, I think. I don't know the exact date because I'm always just kind of in the thick of it, but it's really cool. So some of you might know Amber 1. There was an older version of Virtual Guitarist, which was from 2017 or so, and they did very well, but they had some limitations. And so recently we've been revamping the engine into version 2, and so we've done Iron and Sparkle, and now Amber is the third revision, and you might assume that there will be a fourth coming as well. So that's what we're going to mainly look at today, but obviously there's no boundary here where we have to look at Amber. So we've had new products come out in the last few months that would be cool to look at also, but we'll see where we go with it, I think.
Absolutely. Phenomenal. And everybody who's joining us here today, we will be doing a giveaway. So to be entered into that, all you need to do is be active and positive in the chat, and that could be asking questions about Amber 2 or any of Ujam's lineups, or just being a positive force there in the chat. My good friend Killian is moderating. Thanks for that. Shout out to Killian. And with that, Adam, what do you say we jump right in and check out Amber 2?
Yeah, totally. So we got the screen up and running, yeah?
It is there, yes, sir.
Sweet. So yeah, this is the GUI for Amber 2. Nice and clean and hopefully inspiring. I like to think so. But if you are familiar with the other version 2 that we did, so Iron 2 and Sparkle 2, the engine setup is pretty similar. So like in terms of how it plays and how you control it, that's all the same. But what's changing here is that Amber is an acoustic guitar. So this is based on a steel string strummed and picked acoustic guitar. Sparkle was an electric kind of pop glitzy guitar, and Iron was a more grungy, like rock electric guitar. So we had 2 electrics, and this is the first acoustic. So something that you will notice is that normally we have amps and drives over here, but because it was acoustic, we had to do a little different work there. So we'll look into that more closely, but I'm just going to play a couple of first little chords so you can at least get some ear candy going. So right off the bat, I mean, a lot of our plugins, our instruments they have phrase player engines, so you can pick from a list of styles, which are essentially types of songs. So when I change this, the part will completely change.
Adam, can you give us a little more volume, actually?
Yeah, on the plugin?
Yeah,
Sure.
Just a little bit.
How is this?
Yeah. Perfect.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah. So using the player engine is like the main source of inspiration. It's kind of out of the box what's the most exciting about the product, or a lot of our products in general. So you pick from, I mean, the best way to do it is to go through some presets. I'll do that as a quick introduction. The presets are full snapshots, so it picks everything under the hood as well as all the effects. So if you go through here, we kind of set it up so you get a good variety right off the bat and you can hear what it can do. And so, of course, there are options in here that are nothing like acoustic guitars. But we'll dive into that more. There's a lot of creative sound design in here. But yeah. So the general positioning of Amber 2 is, it's a pop kind of folk. It's an acoustic guitar when you need it to be, but being that it's a Ujam product, it's everything else when you also need that as well. So we have a lot of like effects in here that can completely demolish it, turn it into pads, synths, something like this. Totally weird stuff. But there's a lot of classic sounds.
Digging that one.
Yeah, that one's really fun. But so I think a cool thing to look at, I mean, being that it's an acoustic guitar, that's pretty much the focus. So I think it's fun to turn off all the effects and kind of go through, the different characters and options just to hear the raw sound. So we have guitar models under the hood. There are 4 different characters, which, based on the names, they have slightly different flavors. So you can find different contexts in your productions where those might be more suitable. So I have a little just 4-chord loop playing. I might just play it and go through some of the characters, and then we'll look at the mixes as well really quick. So tame's a lot brighter than soft right off the bat. You've got real. And hard. So they really just kind of control the essence of the sample set, and then the mix presets are a little more on top of that. So they kind of help you contextualize it within a mix. And there are specific applications for H2, which I think are fleshed out in the user manual. And I don't know right off the top what the inspiration was, but you can totally hear the differences. So yeah, And so a lot of them, you know, they're different flavors. Like I said, the combination of the character and the mix will yield you a lot of different like depth in terms of the acoustic guitar. But a lot of what you'll notice, like for the viewers, the first impression is really the style. These are like the songs. So like if I change it immediately, it'll sound and feel different. And so some of these styles have different articulations. You know, there's a lot of work under the hood in the engine to control articulations. But so I think something to look at next. So there are, you know, there's two different. I guess I'm gonna take a look at what's new in Amber 2 because Amber 1, you know, it was pretty popular and it still is. And so this is technically the upgrade, but we've added quite a lot to it. Nice. Yeah, Amber 1, for those of you who don't know, was a smaller UI with fewer controls. It didn't have creative effects. It had, you know, we have these lists of complex multi-effect chains that I'll go over in a minute. But the original one, I believe, just had a delay, a reverb, and maybe like a phaser or something. There were single knobs, which was useful at the time. And then it was a player engine, so you would input chords like I'm doing here. So pretty much everything you're seeing happening here was in Amber 1, except it was a little more limiting. So you couldn't, for one thing, you couldn't control it. We have this new feature now called drag and drop, where you can drag this handle right from the plugin. Hopefully that's on the screen for you.
Yep.
Right from here and straight into your DAW, you can put in the info. And so it'll allow you to customize the part that's playing. So in Amber 1, it was a little more, it was a tiny bit more gridlocked. You know, it was almost more like you're hearing loops. Some of them will be great for your song, but I always personally like wanted a tiny bit more control. So there's that for one thing. There's drag and drop, but the other massive change is the instrument mode. So you actually are able to play it in your own way. It's not just a phrase player now. And there are a couple of variations of this mode that I can dive into. But
can I get some questions in?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I have a question just about character and mix. What is happening behind the scenes with those? Are they the same and it's just an EQ balance? Is there saturation? Is there actually a new sample being added? Like what's going on by way of changes with those?
Yeah, totally. So so the characters, so there is one intensive, you know, recording process on a single guitar. So we're not recording different guitars, but we're doing different sort of setups. So we did, during the recording phase, we used a bunch of different types of microphones and in different positions. And we, you know, we had to do the pickup versus closer to the mic. So we would change all the positioning to get everything we need. But so to answer your question, the characters are more like processing to the base library. So it's more than just EQ and compression. It is similar to our finisher effects. It is like a multi-chain. So we have our sound designers go through, we identify a vision for each character, and then we get to that vision. It sometimes that's filtering, EQing, compression, saturation. You know, it's not just a simple EQ. Of course, you can throw an EQ and clean it a little more to your liking, but they're more like snapshots of the same library. But then when you jump over to the mixes in Amber 2, it's actually pretty unique because under the hood here, we actually are accessing the different signals from the different microphones. So different mix presets are using actually different recordings from a different microphone, and sometimes they're mixed and leveled differently. So this is where you get some of the microphone variants. And I believe Air is the same thing, where if you boost it up, we can listen to it. Whoops, I got to switch back to this mode. If you're boosting the Air, it should get a little more stereo signal because it's introducing a second recording, I believe. So it's a little bit wider there. And this is a really slow style, but you can hear a different flavor kind of mixing in. But so yeah, the short answer to your question is it's one physical guitar, but it's multiple microphones, positions, and contexts that we approach it with.
Gotcha. We've got some more questions from some of the viewers, if you don't mind.
Totally. Yeah.
What genres does Amber 2 cover from my entertainment?
Yeah. So it's a lot of pretty universal stuff, in my opinion. that being said, I like to think that it's pretty relevant for pop. I work in pop electronic spaces, and even sometimes indie. So, there are a lot of really usable strumming patterns in here. There are some fun arpeggiations, like this one's pretty fun. I guess this is not the one I'm thinking of. Where is that one? There's a preset that I like, actually. I think it's this one. Yeah, but so I'm not remembering which one is. There's a couple of arpeggiations. They're not all just chord strums. But I would say the general positioning is pop and folk, and like you could play this thing at a campfire. Like when someone whips out an an acoustic guitar, then they just start to play, different chord progressions to represent any song they want to play. It could be pop, it could be a rock song. They could play anything as long as they know the chords and notes. And there's all these different flavors you can, like different twists you can put on it. So I would say the main positioning is sort of like, this clean acoustic guitar pop approach. But then obviously we have folders in the presets here. You can do some alternative and rock, electronic. There's some experimental stuff. I think a lot of electronic music actually kind of comes from a pop origin in some sense. So I think a lot of like the nature of the styles are also relevant in electronic music. But I would personally tend to say modern, like more modern, clean kind of, like universal stuff. That's how I would answer that question in short.
Okay. And then we've got quite a few questions that are all essentially centered around the same thing. And that's from Oscar Slap, Philip Allen, and Matthias Bowden. And the questions were, can you save your own phrases or import MIDI? Can you convert to MIDI and edit? And someone's wondering about chord melody editor.
Chord and melody editor.
I mean, essentially, you kind of showed it briefly, and that is if you drag and drop, you can get your chords out. Can you also get the melody out as well?
So yeah, so it'll play. So basically, how our engine works is we have this phrase player, and all of the MIDI keys are used as key switches. So in the instrument mode, if I switch to instrument mode, I guess it's a good transition into how to actually control the thing. So excuse me. So in player mode, you enter chords on the right, and we know that these are phrases, right? So you select different phrases, and they change the part. But users are asking about the control, so that's where you would switch to instrument mode. Well, so for one thing, if I play a chord here, normally it actually has chord recognition. So if I'm playing just a G, you can see that it's playing a power chord. And if I add a second note, so it'll start to phrase chords, but some users might want individual note control. So you select a note, and this way it'll follow. So it will still play the phrase that's selected, but it will follow the exact notes I'm pressing. So it's just playing a G now, and just a C, and if I combine them, so it's going to play everything, and it's not going to revoice it. So that's also in the phrase player, so that's still using these styles, but taking the new part about this instrument over Amber 1 is when you go into instrument mode, and you have two different options here, and there's an overlay to explain what some of this stuff does. But basically, this mode's really fun. So the whole point of this product and our virtual instrument series in general, like virtual guitarist, virtual drummer, the whole point is that they are quite literally that. It's a virtual guitarist. So a lot of our decisions in developing these things are about what's possible on a real guitar. What would a real player do? How might they voice these chords? And if there are physical impossibilities on a guitar, like I'm using the string already for this note, so I can't play, I can't do that many of those notes. That's taken into account here. So everything that you can play on here is pretty universally applicable to a physical guitar and a physical guitarist. So that's kind of why I really like it, because when I'm not a guitarist, and so when I play this thing, I can trust that if I need this part in a different context or to play it live, I can have somebody play it, and it's possible. So in instrument mode, you do have control where it behaves like a guitar. So there's a fretboard over here, and you'll notice there's no sound now when I press notes. And that's because it's a fretboard now. And so on the left, you'll see in this overlay, there's a picking section. So basically all of these keys down here on the left control individual strings. So you can really kind of like I don't know how to play the guitar, but when I do that, I feel like I am playing the guitar. It's a really unique experience, and I haven't seen like products out there that kind of are like that, where like we've really recreated a guitar experience for non-guitarists. And there's another mode where you can trigger mode on. This will play right away. So if you're more of a pianist and you don't want to kind of have to deal with that, you can just press the notes and they will play. And then so the control on the left is the rest of the controls are about the articulation. So open, you can go half muted, you can go muted, and then whatever chord is selected, like it plays right away because I have trigger mode on. But there's also strumming key switches. So if I've already played it, I can click the strum. That's the auto strum. And then there's an upstroke, downstroke.
Cool.
So you can really like that's so realistic. You know, it's like you're getting a boatload of control in like a very easy way. So it's a really unique experience, but it's fun to play with. And then there's a key switch to switch between trigger modes. So like I said, trigger mode is that it plays right away, so I don't need to pretend I'm playing a guitar, which is great for songwriting and being quick if you're a pianist or whatever. And then you can use the key switch to switch back to the guitar mode. So again, going back to the question, when you drag and drop a phrase out, it actually will tell the instrument to play the phrase back as if it's in instrument mode, so you could see what's happening. So it's not so in player mode, I'm hitting a chord, but when I drag that phrase out, it's more than just that chord. You'll see all the data. So right there, so you'll see that there's a key switch way down here. I think it's usually the lowest one, that's under the hood. That's not playing a note, but that's telling the instrument, hey, we're in instrument mode now, so play this as if the user is able to play it on the plugin. And so you could, that's what allows you to edit it pretty much.
Nice.
So you can look at this and then see, I'm going to open the plugin again, sorry. And then we'll see how it's playing. You've got all the different articulations and stuff happening under the hood. So you can go in there and clean up the MIDI notes. You edit the velocities. You know, one other thing that's actually pretty fun to control is, I'm gonna go back to player mode, and latch. For those who don't know, latch will kind of stick the chord that you select, so I can have free hands. But the mod wheel controls a dampening effect, which, similar to the articulation key switches, it's actually quite fun to like play with in real time. Oh, I'm on the pick slide. Sorry about that. So to get a realistic live performance out of this thing is quite easy as well. And then the pitch wheel, the force wheel down here, this is kind of like a velocity, like it's how forceful the part is. Yeah.
Love to see the evolution of this. It's a lot more flexible, I would say, than the initial version that I remember.
Oh, totally. There's so much more. There's so much more. And then, and the effects, we haven't even dived into that yet, but we can.
Yeah, let's bang out some other questions, though, before we get into that.
Go ahead.
Is the plugin, the Glitch Cat is wondering if the plugin is sample-based or if it's a sound engine.
No, it's sample-based. So we recorded a real guitar, processed the samples to, make sure that they're clean and in tune, and then put them in under the hood. It's a MIDI plugin. I think it's around 7 gigabytes or whatever, and that's because there's so much real sound. Like, you're paying for a real instrument and multiple contexts. Like different microphones that we had, different rooms. Yeah, it's totally real.
Joe Steele is wondering if you can choose between finger picking and plucking.
Finger picking and plucking. I'm trying to look at so what we offer in terms of like the control of how it's played is all on these key switches here. So you can change articulations, and I don't think you can control whether it's a pick or a finger. It's a good question. So fair warning, some products I'm the product owner of, and I know them like through and through. This one is one of the newer ones that I actually didn't touch. So some of the technical questions, if I have a little bit of a lackluster answer, I apologize. But I think that my assumption is that you cannot, and it's just you have articulations, you have dampening, you have different kind of bringing things to life type of controls.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think Ujam is in the chat. Everybody say what's up to Ujam, and maybe they'll have an answer for us.
I wonder who's driving.
Well, I had another question here. Oh, RJ Enriquez is wondering if you can explain the micro timing options.
Yeah, so micro timing, this is pretty universal in our products. It's basically because they have player engines, we have to offer users a little bit of, playback control. So with Humanize, for example, try to pick a more suitable style. It's a little busier. Oh, that's because I'm on the common phrases here. Or maybe not. There we go. So yeah, so when you're on the micro timing menu, you'll notice a control Humanize. Tight will bring things a lot tighter. It feels more quantized and less human, and then loose will feel very loose. So I'll go back and forth slowly between them so you can hear that. Actually, you know what? It might help to put a metronome on and then play the chords.
I don't think we can hear the metronome, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. My bad. Yeah. Well, so here, you'll hear. That one might be hard to tell because you really need to reference the grid. It's like a quantization versus a looser, more realistic feel. So a lot of the presets will be somewhere in the middle. That's kind of like the optimum, a realistic performance that is also on time. And if you want to get a little more artificial and grid locked, tight is for that, and loose is for like even more loose.
Question.
Push. Yeah, go ahead.
If you drag and drop the MIDI, will it represent or implement the humanize function? So if I have it on really loose, can I expect to see in the MIDI a loose set of notes? Yeah.
Yes. It should do that. We've implemented that in our most recent instruments, so that it does. The idea is that you drag it out and it does exactly how you had it. Because what's the point of having it not do what you heard? So you're pulling it out of the instrument so you can tweak it and fine tune it to be exactly what you want from there. So if you drag it out and it's different, then it's like, okay, I need to start from square one, So yeah, it does. The micro timing values should be stored in there. Swing is one of the most noticeable ones. We can play with some swing. Obviously, some value in the middle is a little more usable. And so yeah, that would totally get printed in the MIDI. Push pull is more of I think it's more of like a lack versus like being rushed or being late type of thing. So rather than quantization of every note, I think it's more of like how it's, are they coming in a hair early stylistically or a little late? That's probably what that is. Turn swing off. Yeah, and again, I feel like it's hard to demonstrate without, having a metronome or like a tempo to reference because they're all temporal, they're all time-based. So
I think you got a drum beat laid out if you want to, maybe that will.
Oh, I do actually. I forgot I set up a drum beat. Yeah, I had drawn out a little drum beat with Virtual Drummer Hot. The context is going to be completely, not fitted. I just kind of pulled one up. So I think this is maybe not the right stylistic fit. So yeah, let's play with some of the, let's pick a style. That's a clear one. So let's do that and let's play with some swing and push-pull. So you can feel it kind of dragging a little there. And then you have toggles to basically change to have or double the timing of the styles. So that's the neutral speed. You can make it twice as fast or half as fast. And now actually we can hear the tight a little better, I think, here. And then loose. there's like a little bit of floating in there, you know. And then player sync, this controls how it's referencing your host, like the most recent beat being played. When does it resync? It kind of helps the engine know where it's at. But yeah, micro timing is kind of just a performance. It's a menu that allows you to control the performance and time, like the rhythm, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, we got some other questions if you want.
Keep firing. Yeah, I've got no agenda. So,
can people use an expression pedal with this VST, the Glitch Cat Wonders?
an expression pedal. I don't know if I'm familiar with what that is.
I believe it's almost, and I could be wrong, it'd be like the modulation control on your keyboard, but expressed, well, under your foot. Glitch Cat, let us know what you're...
That's a good question. I'm wondering, I'm wondering the same. If it's something that controls modulation, like the wheel, I don't know. I actually don't know if I know the hardware that they're referencing. It's a good question. If it's like an MPE type thing, then no.
But if it's just MIDI, I'm assuming, yeah.
If it's just MIDI, yeah. If it's MIDI and it's just a mod wheel control, I'm not sure how that type of equipment routes to the MIDI mapping in like in a DAW. But if it's linked to somehow the mod wheel, then that works. If it's linked to anything else, it should work. It's a good question. I'm sorry, I don't really know exactly what you're talking about.
We've got a definition of it. Killian
said. Hit us with a definition.
An expression pedal is an important control found on many musical instruments, including organs, electronic keyboards, and pedal steel guitar. The musician uses the pedal to control different aspects of the sound. I think it's just a MIDI controller. So it looks like in Amber, dampening is linked to the modulation. Yeah,
correct.
Is that assignable or is that just what it is?
Yeah, that one is, I think, just the mod wheel.
So it might be, I mean, are the amount, we didn't touch on the effects, which may be a good segue to do that, but are the effects, that's all automatable, I'm guessing? From
Yeah. Everything that you would really, really want to automate. So the mod wheel is a sticky subject because, you know, you have this dependency between a physical wheel and a software. And so we've run into issues where like allowing people to automate this causes them to get desynced, and then the instrument behaves weirdly when they readjust it. Right. And it kind of, you know what I mean? So down here, I think these two are not automatable just because of the physical nature, but everything else that you would want to should be automatable, like the type of effect, the amount of the effects, you know, the amount of air, and there are some controls here we didn't really touch on, I noticed, which we could dive.
I think to answer, I think it was Glitch Cat's question, if I were Glitch Cat and had a pedal, I would probably assign it to either the finisher or I think you call it stomp box. That's just a number of different effects as well, right? Yeah. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, you could automate the amount value of either of those effects if you wanted to get some crazy control. You know, it comes down to me not really knowing an expression pedal. If it's more universal about expressing how the instrument's played, like dynamically, it would make sense that the dampening mod wheel, if that was linked, then that's a great option. But yeah, if it's automatable and you like kind of pick a parameter to map it to, then the effects would be super cool. And we can look at some of them because some of them are totally different and they are more fun there are some that are more fun for automating than some of the others. But
before you play a few, one really good question here from Rick Show is there a difference between the sampled content between V1 and V2 of Amber?
Oh, yeah, totally new.
Okay.
Totally new guitar, new selection. Basically, we redid that instrument. We said, hey, we've got a lot better technically. We've got a new engine that's more exciting and more useful. Let's sit down and record something new. In terms of what guitar they did, I'm sure it was different. I don't know exactly, like, they went from this setup to this because I wasn't involved in that process, But yeah, I know that it's all brand new recordings. You're not just getting the same sounds again. So the quality's increased, and everything we've done with it has increased in quality as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's check out some of those effects.
Yeah, so I'll turn off the finishers. So it's kind of in order of signal flow. So stomp box, you know, these are somewhat more expected or ordinary. They're not wet effects really. Some of them are, I guess, but it's kind of like you would expect this maybe in a stomp box. Like this is the Guitarist series, so some of these are a little more classic. So let's just pick something to run with. I'll turn the drums off for now. And we'll just go through. So you've got some basic stuff like compressors and some standard effects. So I won't show those because they're so basic, but let's just go through some. This one sounds like an electric guitar, which is fun. This might be one that's fun to automate. Skip through some of the filters. We got flangers. Cool lo-fi effect. Old tape. What's this about? Very cool. I'm a sucker for like lo-fi stuff, so I find that to be exciting. Then you've got weird ones. So we basically kind of paired it. So some of them are more expected stomp box effects. Some of them are crazy, but we paired them in a way that you might want to use both one of those stomp box effects and a finisher. So some of the finishers are a little similar, but they're like sorted. Like you can have something like this and then go into an ambience. Like we wanted to give the users the control to be able to feed an effect into a wet effect rather than just having one effect module where it's either dry or wet. We really thought that was essential for like creating cool stuff with it.
A lot more dynamic.
Totally, yeah. And so there's some synth basser. I think there's some weird ones in here. Yeah.
Crunchy.
Yeah, and then so that's a stomp box. We can look at some finishers real quick. They're sorted into 2 folders. One for effects that are like dry, just like kind of tonal or characteristic effects, and then we've got ambiences, which are delays, combinations, reverbs, etc. So we can go through some of these real quick. And some of them are multiple things. So keep in mind, actually, it's a good point to talk about finishers. For those of you who don't know Ujam or our products, we have a whole series called finishers, and they're effect plugins that you can throw on top of your instruments. And basically under the hood, so you have all your standard effects like chorus, flanger, compressor, reverb, like anything that you would find stock in a DAW. Under the hood in our development toolkit, we are having sound designers create custom tool chains that are automated, modulated, mapped to tempo, whatever they want to do. They get creative with it, but it's multiple effects. So basically anything that we create as a finisher is a unique snapshot that the sound designer envisioned. So acoustic pop, you can hear there's some delay in there. You can hear that's some glitziness in it. But it's not just a delay. There's different stuff happening. So that's like a super trancy thing. Brings out some bass there. And for fun, we can switch the style just for fun. Campfire. I don't know if the intention is to sound like you're playing by a campfire. It's kind of funny. And then ambiences. Ambiences, there's crazy stuff here.
That's cool.
Yeah, Ice Cave, I think this one has shown up in a couple of our products because it's a really cool one. I think we've done certain like renditions to it to, some standard rooms. But yeah, the best way to get a snapshot of like the depth of the instrument is to go through the presets. because they take into account everything. We pick the stomp box, the finisher. A couple of these controls I didn't talk about. I don't know if you had any questions come in, but
we have, when you're doing your next example for the demo here, we're wondering if you could do some of the electronic category.
Yeah, totally. That's actually perfect. I was about to go into the presets to show
Love that.
what's possible. But one thing I just want to explain these controls, because all the controls are included in a preset, so it might be nice for them to know, what they do. So the width control, if you're playing the guitar, you'll hear, depending on what you're listening on headphones or whatever, you'll hear that this is mono down the middle. It's one signal, and as soon as you turn it to on, you get a doubled signal. So this isn't a fake stereo. This is a true stereo. This is a whole separate recording. So everything's recorded in stereo, and this allows you to adjust that. So you get this really wide and fresh stereo sound, and it's not fake. It's not just like a Haas effect delay. It's actually a real signal. So that's what width does. Focus is kind of like a hybrid EQ filtering. Like we have that's pretty standard in Ujam products as well. It's basically like an intelligent way to say I want things brighter and less bass, or like darker and less highs. So, but it's subtle. It's not like a filter.
It's like a tilt shift EQ or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cooler versus warmer. It's not you're not just low passing, high passing. So that's cool. Yeah. So that. And then variance controls some of the behavior. I'm forgetting what it is. I think it's the velocity it controls. Let's see if we can hear it. I think this controls the realism. So under the hood, we have samples like round robins, so that if a note is played multiple times, you don't get the same recording every time, because that would sound very artificial. So we have an intelligent script that, I don't know how many round robins it uses per key, maybe 16 to 20, and then they randomly get recalled based on velocities and all that. I wish I knew more about that, because that's something I don't really personally do at Ujam, but variance controls, I believe it's either that and velocity, or something where it controls the realism, how much variation there is in the way it's playing. And then tune is just a slight tuning option in case you need it. So those are the rest of the controls. So now we can look at, now that you just know what everything is, we can take a look at some of I think it was requested to do some electronic stuff.
Yeah, and we just got a nice compliment here from Tribal Logical saying that some of these presets are bringing back 80s vibes, and they dig that. And I do too. It was doing that to me as well.
Totally, yeah. Probably a lot of this nice, like, vintagey stuff in the effects. Very fun. But let's see.
There's not enough flanger these days. You know what I mean? They got to bring back the flanger. What's going on?
I know, we got one good one in here. We might have we got old phasers.
But I'm just saying, in like pop music these days, there's
I know
we need more flange. That's all I'm saying.
It's such a specific, it's a specific flavor that I like. But let's hear some electronic stuff. This is usually the category where you'll be like, wow, this is an acoustic guitar, what? So we'll see what happens. Like, that just kind of sounds like some weird techno, like drums almost drowned out. Can it percussion? Like, can the guitar make percussion? That's a really cool one. I feel like I could listen to that all day.
Yeah, how do we... Yeah. Can you slowly reduce the amount of the stomp box while you're playing that, and let's just see what happens?
Yeah, totally. So then you get a lot of realism right there, but that was pretty cool.
I mean, if you think about it, a little breakdown going into some acoustic guitar,
That's a really nice like atmosphere to lay down. It's kind of like it's got that grunge,
Nice.
Nice lush atmosphere around it. I'm just going to let it run on the chord progression. I keep playing a single chord. Hey, you can see there's an effect that's literally called text sequence. So it's just like probably some advanced trance gate or something. It's fun. That one's totally crazy. Frank.
I wonder who made that one.
There's a lot in here. There's actually way more presets than I thought we had in here. Like, I'm not even halfway through the electronic list. Vintage piano. That's interesting considering this is a modern acoustic guitar. Oh, I accidentally opened a reverb with a hotkey. Sorry about that.
How do you do that?
I have this little Max for Live device in Ableton that allows you to assign QWERTY keyboards to racks that you save. So my V button is Open Valhalla Room. So
What?
it's very cool.
I mean, not to get off track here, but can you send me?
It's called Shortcut Buddy. Yeah, you put it on a return track and you ignore it and then you map the keys to the keys. But yeah, I not to deviate from our own products. There are other manufacturers that are really great. But yeah.
Yeah, I just say DM me that because that sounds interesting.
Totally. Yeah, I put my hotkeys like the quickest, get an EQ, get a reverb, not to ruin the workflow. The universal concept I feel like that every plugin manufacturer should have is to get out of my way when I'm writing a song.
100%.
And so that's one of our main mottos. So it's relevant to UJAM too.
Way to tie it back in, Adam.
Yeah, just doing my job, This is what I'm here for. But yeah, pads are similar to electronic. They'll be totally like different. And Patty. A lot of these actually would be really good in like a film scoring environment, honestly. Like the pads, I can picture that to picture, like emotionally. But yeah, there's so much in here. I don't really know where to dive. The pop and folk categories are a little more guitar-y. Like that's kind of what the approach is. And obviously electronic, if you're putting presets in an instrument that's an acoustic guitar and you're calling it electronic, obviously it's going to be a little different,
Yeah.
So pads and electronic. Alternative and rock, I actually don't know what's in here. Probably some of the distorted stuff or a little messier. Or a lot messier. That's a really cool one, actually. I never heard that one. Yeah, very cool. There's so much in here that I haven't heard. Yeah, wow.
Well, I think that's, you've really shown us the ins and outs of Amber. If you have any questions, you're here watching the stream, shoot them at Plugin Boutique and we'll get them answered. But yeah, absolutely fantastic job, Adam. I'm just excited to get my hands on it now at this point.
Yeah, it's so. Oh, one thing to mention, all of our products have a free trial. So if you're not one of the lucky winners or the giveaway, then it's free for 30 days anyway. So
speaking of the giveaway, this is your last opportunity to be entered to win. All you got to do is chat in the chat right now. Say hello to Adam. Say thanks to Ujam. Say thanks to Killian for moderating. Say thanks to Plugin Boutique for hosting. And you might win a copy of Amber. And then somebody else is winning a bundle. Isn't that right, Adam?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm choking on my coffee.
Don't do that, please.
No. I believe it's the whole Guitarist bundle, so that includes the other new ones we did, Iron and Sparkle, which I'll just flash the UIs real quick because I've mentioned them a couple times. Some of you guys might not even know about them. So, Iron 2 is right here, like a grungy rock guitar. And then we've got Sparkle 2, which came before Amber 2. So this was the most recent. Prior to Amber 2 was Sparkle 2. Glitzy pop guitar, which I love.
Love the updated UIs as well.
Yeah, they're very clean. I love the color palette. I like to think we pride ourselves on our UIs. They're very fresh. And visually speaking, visuals are important in inspiration, at least for me.
Yeah, you don't want to be looking at something ugly while you're trying. Oh yeah,
there's a lot of ugly out there, which I'm sure you've seen some.
No. Of course I have.
But yeah, I like to think it's actually one of my favorite parts of product development at Ujam is getting to work with our designer, who's really talented, and getting to have some creative say, like how do we make this feel like it's supposed to sound and look. That's probably one of my favorite parts actually about making these products. And we have fun with it too. It's making me think of the newest finisher, which is Boost. And Boost is a plugin that will create, so you can see we did this like crazy energy drink type of effect here.
I love the 3D element there.
Yeah, make it move a little. But so the idea with Boost is, just in a nutshell, is it's a finisher effect that'll make transition effects out of whatever you feed it. So you can have risers, you can have down sweeps, impacts, or transition swells that do both. They go up and then down. Boost is really cool. I'm not sure if we've gotten questions on Amber or any other products, but I wouldn't mind playing with it. It's up to you how you want to proceed here.
So we're going to give everybody the last opportunity to ask a question or be active in the chat and hit the like button. I don't know why I have to keep saying that. I feel like at this point, Adam, I shouldn't have to say hit the like button anymore. But you'd be surprised if you say it, the likes go up. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you're here for more than a minute, you probably like it, right?
So yeah, you should probably smack it. So yeah, we are good to go if you want to play us a little bit of the effects, and then we'll pick a winner and wrap it up.
Yeah. I mean, Boost was the most recent release of mine that I owned as a product owner. That's probably why I'm gravitating towards it, but yeah, it's really cool because it solved a problem that I had, working in modern electronic and pop spaces. Transitions and building tension, building the appropriate amount of tension and then releasing it is pretty hard. I found it to be hard because sample packs are out there, but they're all pretty similar. They're like noise splashes or risers. And I always found that they didn't fit into my song very well because they're so like someone else is designing them in like Serum or whatever. And then they're so bright, and then I bring them into my session, and I feel like there's always a lot of mix work to be done. So the cool thing about Boost is it samples whatever you're feeding it. So it's an effect you put on top of a sound, and it actually, all the effects under the hood will interact with that sound, whether it's rhythmically or it's like processing it or whatever. So you get a lot of character that will fit into your track right away. So I have a little demo. I was running the chord progression here. I guess I should pick a less patty preset here. But I had this drum beat pulled up with Virtual Drummer Hot. And you can already hear Boost making a transition. I'm just trying to find a
Do you
setting
have
that doesn't
Boost on the group or on the
group.
Guitar? Okay.
I have it on the group. So that's a good question I can look at. So we have the finisher modes. If you're not familiar with finishers, the modes are basically like in Amber 2, the finisher section, every drop down is technically a mode. It's a different effect combination. But so we organize them based on what you're putting it on. So you can put it on a full track, which is why I put it on a group. You can do just drums, just instruments, and just vocals if you want. And these modes are sort of optimized for those things. So with vocals, we picked effects that were more relevant to a vocal. Doesn't mean you can't use them on anything else, and they often sound really cool. But track is like if you want to put it on a whole track. That's why I put that on the bus there, because I find that for demonstration purposes, it's the most impactful to hear it remixing a full song, So we have this loop going. I'm trying to find some setting in Amber that doesn't sound completely like unrelated to the drum beat I picked. That'll do. That's good enough. So with Boost on, there's a cool visualization here too. So the finishers in our series have this massive finisher knob in the middle, and that's the effect control, how much of the effect. And with Boost, you get a cool animation that shows you the status of where it's running. So it's actually referencing your host, like the measures and everything. So you'll see it running. So that one is just like a clean riser. There's two controls that'll allow you to change the flavor. And actually with this one on Very 3, if you go all the way down, you solo just the wet effects. So it's great for, I like to do that and then print it and mix it into my song. So you can do that and you'll get just what the plugin is doing. So you'll hear like the essence of the track behind it. But there's totally different stuff in here, and they're not all just like when you hear riser, that just means upward, like we're building tension. It doesn't mean it's always a filter. It's always a sweep. You know what I mean? So some of the stuff is like weird, like this one. Like it's preparing you for that beat when it resets. And it's super effective to do songs like that.
How many presets are in there?
Let's see. There's 15. I think there's 15 in each. There's quite a few modes. So these are modes. Presets are up here, and presets are basically they'll pick modes and then change all of the knobs, like in Amber. But so unique different effects. There are, it looks like 60 if I remember correctly, 15 in each. And then in the presets, one cool thing we added in this finisher, because it's time based and you see it animating, is if you have a riser that you like if I'm using this one. I can click this little arrow button and flip it, so it'll behave like an impact. So it'll go downward, and it's actually flipping that specific effect, so it's creating a new one that's not in the list. So that's why we have a preset category for just general risers and upsweeps. Some of these in here were impacts that we, edited and flipped and saved as a riser. So if you go through risers, we can just get a good variety, I think. And so one thing to note is because it's running automatically, there is a selector for how long it runs. So there's 2 bars, 4 bars, 8 bars, and it'll automatically do that in your session. So you don't have to, you can pop this on your song and it 90% of the time will have a riser in the right spot.
What's the
which
beat
is really
button
cool.
do? Or the beat knob?
I'm sorry?
The beat knob over there on the right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that knob controls where the effect is landing. So traditionally, let's say 8 bars, you have a riser, and then on the 9th measure, the downbeat there, after the 8 bars, you want the tension to land. That's sort of what the beat control does, is it's pointing to the beat. The way I like to think of it is it's pointing to the beat that you want to emphasize. So if it's a riser, it's going to rise up until that beat, and then if it's an impact, it's going to start on that beat because impacts will fall from there. And transitions that go both ways will go up till that beat and then reverse. So we can play with a couple of those actually. Actually, I'm gonna switch to 2 bars just so we hear it more quickly. Okay. So that's the downbeat. If I skew it a little, you'll notice the beat changes. And now it's a beat off. So sometimes you like to hold the tension and have silence, and then the drop happens or the hook happens. So that's kind of the approach there. Is beat allows you to pick any beat within the selected loop to land on. Yeah, and then the other important thing to note is there's this manual mode. So you don't have to have it running. Some people don't like that it's always running and you have to automate it on and off. So there's a manual mode where you can draw in with the knob. You can automate in your custom curve to build the effect. Which is super useful. But yeah, this is Boost. There's a lot. I guess I'm going to play just a couple of the full transitions so you can hear the types of things. So you've got a 2-sided thing happening there. Got some different ones here. And I can't stress enough how actually useful this thing is. When I was testing this plugin a lot in the early stages, I'm a musician in my off time, so I had a bounce. I needed to test it on a full song, so I had a recent rendering of one of my tracks. So I'd open a new session, just put the master on there, and then put the plugin on there. And I was just testing that the effects are working as expected. And I'd always be hearing things that I'm like, I should actually add that to the song. So I would print it, I'd get distracted and print it, save it in my real session, it was just proving itself to me while I was testing it. And it's probably one of my most used Ujam plugins now, actually.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, Boost is very cool. One of our more recent releases. We also had a recent USynth title. Depends on how we're doing on time and what you want to take a look at. But
Well, I think we can go ahead and pick a winner. We've got some names sent to me. I've got 5 names here, and we're gonna pick 2 winners. So if you want to tell me 2 numbers between 1 and 5, those will be our winners for today. The first one will be Amber, and the second one will be the bundle.
All right, then let's do. You want me to pick the number?
Yes, please.
Let's do for the winner of Amber 2. Why don't we go with number 2 for Amber 2?
Number 2 for Amber 2.
Yeah.
And the winner of Amber 2 is Josh the Potato. Great name.
Nice. Excellent name. Excellent name.
And the winner of the bundle, my friend. Drum roll, please.
I was thinking number 5. You know, you're getting everything, so let's go with the biggest number.
Philip Allen, congratulations. You are the winner of the bundle.
Excellent.
So, congratulations on winning. Thank you to Ujam for supplying those gifts. Thank you to Adam for coming out. If you are Josh the Potato or Philip Allen, please email support@pluginboutique.com with your name, what you won, and a screenshot of you logged in to your YouTube account here on YouTube so we can verify it's you, and we'll get those sorted for you. With that, Adam, is there anything else you wanted to shout out before we wrap it up here today?
I don't think so. I mean, there's so much, just a general thank you to people who tuned in and thought that this was interesting, and hopefully you think the product is useful and our other products are useful. That's why we build them, you know? But yeah, we've got a lot in store at Ujam. We're doing a lot of new things, and it's pretty exciting. I've been feeling the innovation more than ever, so don't forget about us, and we won't forget about you.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say. Well, thank you so much for having us on, Joshua.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. I mean, you've piqued my interest there with the effects plugin, so I will go ahead and grab a copy and download it and have a play. And, you've got my email, so next time,
Absolutely.
I mean, as you said, there's so much to cover. If you ever want to do it again, just give me a shout, and we will make sure to get it done.
We definitely will. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. With that, I'll let you go, Adam. I know it's just getting started over there on the East Coast. I'm headed off. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Killian for running the chat, and we will see you in the next stream.
Keep on rising to the top. Ragamuffin keeps striving in every way. International, what they call we international. When me ride palm with them in the move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm with them and then we sit down steady. Party me on the place I with the one Jamalski. We are the general. We sit up on the rhythm and open the mic incredible. I'll be right behind the rhythm, move with the rhythm, I sit down steady. Every ragamuffin you do, I feel rock and follow me.